Uniwide was the #1 retail chain in the country during the 80s and 90s, with gross sales reaching between 15 and 20 billion pesos annually in the 90s. UHI Sales Warehouse Club reached its peak in net sales at 14.7 billion pesos in 1997. Uniwide Group employed around 30,000 people, and its transactions with suppliers were heavily based on cash. Store sizes: minimum of 1 hectare per store. Number of customers: checkout counters around 60 per store. Uniwide received 4.3 billion funding from its initial public offering, IPO, in August 1996. Now, this is very interesting, guys. You see, all these articles are saying that Uniwide was the #1 retail chain in the Philippines in the 80s and 90s. All right. Uniwide had assets for 30 billion pesos. It was a strong company, and it got an additional funding of 4.3 billion pesos. So, how come in 1 year, by 1997, it was declared bankrupt? We need to gather more leads and evidence to see if these articles are true or not. After days of research, investigation, meeting up with people that could help us shed some light on our investigation, I finally got all these papers. Let's get to know if the stories we heard about Uniwide are true or not. It's all over the net that Uniwide was the #1 store in the 80s and the 90s in the Philippines. And I have papers here that show the sales of the company from 1994 to 1999. Based on our accounting papers, the peak years of sales of Uniwide were 1996 and 1997, both years with around 15 billion pesos in sales. That was the year of the IPO and the year it went bankrupt. The year with most sales is the year it went bankrupt. I really don't understand. I think these numbers speak of a company that's doing well in business. What do you think? Look at this. I believe these 27,000 investors, were convinced by the numbers I just gave you, and that's why they invested in the IPO of Uniwide in 1996. Banks that were included there: international banks, Citibank of North America, Standard Chartered Bank, Banque Nationale de Paris, Hong Kong Shanghai Bank, OCBC Bank Singapore, Indo-Suez Bank, ING Bank, that's my bank by the way, ING Baring, Bank Luxembourg, and many more. And the investments from this IPO in 1996 brought new capital to the company of 4.3 billion pesos. And here we have a clear report from SGV saying that the 4.3 billion pesos were deposited in a custodian bank. Alright, so now let's search online what the definition of custodian bank is. Custodian bank is a financial institution that holds customers' securities for safekeeping to prevent them from being stolen or lost. So, in this report by SGV, a very important accounting firm in the Philippines, where it specifies that the money was deposited to a custodian bank, what it doesn't specify is what bank was the custodian bank. If Uniwide received 4.3 billion pesos at its peak. We definitely need to dig more into this.